your 30s, testosterone, and weed. So, what is the real problem with those three things? Well, if you look around, a lot of people, men specifically, as they get older, their testosterone levels start to dip. And some of the things that you can experience from your testosterone lowering is less drive, anxiety, depression, mood swings, grumpiness, inability to stay structured, disciplined, driven, anxiety, all those kinds of things are things that are normally found with people that are suffering from lower testosterone. In your 30s, that's when that starts to happen. It starts to tick down. There's lots of studies on this. But I have a little challenge for you, something that I think that would be a bit interesting for you to maybe look into yourself. If you look into studies that have been done on marijuana consumption and estrogen dominance or lowering of testosterone, you might be actually surprised to find out that by smoking marijuana, you will actually lower your testosterone and raise your estrogen. So what does that really mean? Well, if you're looking to have less anxiety, less depression, less mood swings, you don't want to be so grumpy. You want to have more discipline, structure, and those things. Especially in your 30s, as you're getting older and maybe starting to feel the effects of aging. Well, if you don't do something earlier in your life to secure your health and getting in shape for your older years, I've always called muscle insurance as you age. Because as you get older, things like falling, breaking a hip, or balance issues tend to happen. So if you're not working out while you're young and your body's more optimal, as you get older, it'll be harder to basically get in shape versus if you were trying to maintain what you've already built. So one of the interesting things to start thinking about as a man is that if you want to have good health, you should be looking after your testosterone levels, obviously. Now, I'm not a doctor by any stretch of the means, but these are studies that you can look into for yourself. And as you look into those things, ask yourself a couple questions. Do you want to keep smoking something that is helping you avoid these uncomfortable things in your life? Is that really something you want to keep doing, knowing that as you age, already your testosterone is going to dip? So when you start smoking on top of that, you're actually guaranteeing that you're going to be lowering those levels even faster. And you're going to have some of those less desirable side effects. So if you want to take your health more seriously as a man, quitting marijuana is something worth considering. One, why do you want to go through your whole life and not necessarily be 100% there? Are you going to be altered for another 10 years, 5 years, a year, a month? Why would you want to do that? Don't you want to be there with your kids? Don't you want to be present for the dreams that you've had maybe in your teens and 20s? I know that there's a lot of things that I wanted to do when I was younger, and by getting away from vices in life, I actually have found that I was able to get those things. I work from home. It's something that I love to do, and I get to work with people from a place of passion and interest on my own things. Marijuana is something that I know of, something I have my own personal experiences with, and if anything, not having that in my life has been extremely beneficial. And that's one thing that I could tell you. I'll give you another example. I actually used to be 310 pounds, and I was addicted to gluttony. I was addicted to overconsumption because of the dopamine highs that I would get from eating all these sugary foods that were quite tasty and enjoyable. But again, I did so much of it. I did a little too much of it to the point where I started to have high blood pressure issues. I started to have other things like fatigue and unhealthy other issues. And over 12 years ago now, I lost 110 pounds, and I've maybe gained back 10 pounds by me allowing that, just because I felt better with that extra 10 pounds back on than I did without it. But again, for 12 years now, I've kept off at least 100 pounds and not once gain that back. Instead of, like, for example, people on weight loss, they usually will go through some kind of fad diet, which is not a lifestyle change. It's not a perspective change. It's not changing that relationship that you have with food or your addiction. I had to change that. And once I did, I still have my junk food, but I also eat healthy. I'm able to have a sense of balance in my life. And I think that's something worth considering. You know, it's one thing to have a joint when you go out and you're camping and you're having a good time with friends. But if smoking is what you're doing to get through your life, and you know that there's also consequences to consuming it in a gluttonous format, maybe you need to start asking yourself, is this really good for my health? Is this something I want to continue to do, knowing that I'm going to get into my 40s and my 50s? What are the side effects of lowering your own testosterone through just a habit that you have? Let's face it, why do you have this addiction? Are you really addicted to the smoking, or are you addicted to getting away from something in your life? Of course, if you knew what that was, I'm sure you would have already taken care of it. You've maybe tried to do things like deep breathing exercises or yoga, meditation, things to calm the mind, help with anxiety. You've maybe tried diet changes, or you've tried supplementation. There's all kinds of things. Maybe you've even tried some psychotropics. But at the end of the day, if you continue doing the things that you're doing, but you're still not getting much of a shift in your baseline experience, what are you really doing? Because if you could just switch off anxiety, I'm sure you would do it. But if you're still struggling with these things, you get off work, you smoke to help you stop being so angry, but then you wake up the next morning and all you're thinking about is job, and I just hate that they said that to me and that I'm going through this again. I hate my damn job. Mondays suck. Well, if you just smoke it away, you're not going to feel the desire or the motivation to get out of that situation. I did. I didn't want to keep working a 9 to 5, and that's where I'm at now. I work for myself. That's something that I enjoy, and if anything, I hope that more of you out there find whatever it is that you're passionate about. It could be in a 9 to 5, and then just do that. Do that before you get into your older years. So when you're ready to address whatever it is in your life, reach out to me. I'll be more than glad to help you. But again, you really should take a look at the studies, and you really should consider that if this is something that you've attempted to quit before and you've relapsed, what keeps happening in your life that is causing this? And if this is something you've struggled with now for a long time, a year, let's say, because that's still a long time, or more, then do you even know what your problem is? You maybe have a best guess, an idea, but if you address that root cause, you're probably not going to have much of a difference from what you've already been able to achieve. So when you're ready to get to those subconscious layers, to those things that actually are the light switch, where we can turn off that issue, to where you're self-advocating, to where you're getting into that fitness routine, where you're leaving that job because your self-confidence has no room for somebody being disrespectful, reach out to me. My Calendly link is in my description box somewhere. And if that's something that you struggle to find, just message me or drop a comment. I'll be more than glad to reach back out, and we can schedule a time to talk. Take care.